Jadina N. Gustav Esquire. You can call me Attorney J, and I am so excited to introduce you to my book, Divorce Like a Boss, the ultimate tactical guide to end a toxic marriage and fulfill your purpose. This book is God's assignment to his people. So BOSS is actually an acronym for living beyond our shackles of shame. So if you are ready to live beyond the shackles of shame due to divorce and rise up to fulfill your purpose, this book is for you. You will be educated, empowered, and elevated. I'm Jadina N. Gustav Esquire. You can call me Attorney J. And today we are going to talk about navigating the legal process of divorce, knowing your rights. Okay, so this is going to be a good one. Stay tuned. We obviously understand the importance of knowing the legal process. The legal process, it is one in which, unless you've been there before, it's going to be foreign. It's going to be like they're talking a totally different language. Certain things you know is that, okay, I am now in this place where I am facing divorce and I don't know what comes next. So if you only rely on what people around you tell you, it may be misinformation and it may be confusing. But the aim of this video is to let you know that you have options within the legal process, and so that it can empower you to make informed decisions. Okay, so that is the purpose of the video, and I hope that that's exactly what you receive. So before we even get into it, I have to share with you all the revelation that God gave me, which is so amazing. My heart has been joyful all day. And it's just awesome. It's awesome. So God made me recognize that I'm not just a Christian divorce coach, but that being spirit-filled and led by the Spirit in what I do always. So anyone who knows me knows that since I was a very, very, very young child, that I never move, especially when it's bigger decisions, without God. It's always the prompting of the Spirit that lead me in the directions that I go. And God revealed that the benefit of me now having this role, because I was mainly just in the role of a divorce attorney, but having this role of helping you with emotional support throughout the divorce process is because when a regular person do it, it can help you. It can give you some relief for the moment. But he said, when I do it, and I do it not in my own power, but in the power of the Spirit that leads me, then I not only can empower you, assist you, and support you through going through the divorce process if divorce is inevitable for you, but I can also speak into your life for those who do not want divorce, where you have read the book, you've had the conversations, and you still want your marriage, that I am able to speak into your life for that to take place. Now, a lot of people don't believe it. A lot of people will be skeptical. That's fine. But my heart is joyful that God has unlocked that for me and for you. Because not everybody watching you want to be in this place. You're in this place because you don't know what else to do. But like I said, and I always say it in the videos, I am a bridge to get you from toxic, or to get you from pain to your purpose, not just any purpose, the purpose that God created for you from the time that you were in your mother's womb. So not a purpose that's just found, one that is your destiny. Okay, so used by God to speak to you, my voice is speaking to your life, so that you can reach to where God have for you, living beyond our shackles of shame. Remember, that's what boss is in Divorce Like a Boss. You are living beyond the shackles of shame. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so let's start off with the types of divorce. So there are two different types of divorce. There is contested and uncontested. A contested divorce is one in which you and your partner do not agree. Okay, you do not agree about either everything or something. That means that you're contesting what the person is saying. You don't agree with them and you guys are not on the same page. The opposite of a contested divorce is uncontested, which is literally the opposite. We agree on every term that will come up during this divorce process, and you navigate the divorce process that way. So either you're navigating it on the contested as a contested divorce or an uncontested divorce. What's the difference? So there are quite a few things that are different. The three main things that are different. First is the filings. So the type of filings that you use. There are forms that every state use. And what they do is you put on there what type of case it is. So you're basically saying that, if you have minor children, you're saying it's minor children. If you have no minor children and you just have property, you would say that. So you always define what type of divorce this is. The other thing is when you're responding, that's how the court will know it's contested. So not really that first person that files, with the second person. That's how they're going to know. And basically, you're saying that I do not agree, and you state the things you don't agree with, and you go forward with also putting forth your position, how you believe it should go. That's the first thing. The next thing is there are different stages within the process that is in a contested case that's not in an uncontested case. What's the second thing? The second thing is called discovery. This is a time period during a contested case where you are asking for an exchange of information, and you are also within information asking questions so that the person give you certain documents, give you certain information, and they actually answer questions under oath. So that's its own stage, and it has a time period that can go from 30 days, whichever the law requires. So the law provides for 30 or 45 days, but it extends for longer in most cases. The next phase is mediation. So mediation will come in a contested and not really an uncontested. Uncontested, you don't need mediation because you are not arguing over anything, right? So the next stage for a contested case is mediation. You're sitting with a third party neutral person that is supposed to help you navigate whatever the issues are that you guys don't agree about. And sometimes it only takes that other person being there, and that is not your attorney or the other person's attorney. It is a separate individual who may be an attorney, who has experience in family law, that is going to help you. They can't tell you what to do, but they can give you scenarios. They can tell you what they've seen and what has happened in the past. But whatever you discuss during mediation is private, and you cannot use it in court later. So whatever you exchange, it's because you are doing it to settle the case, okay? So that's another stage. And then finally, with a contested divorce, the next stage is litigation, like actual litigation. So you are now getting into court and you are making your arguments before the court. So first you file, then you go through discovery. You have a period to settle everything and get it done with. If that is unsuccessful, you go into the final phase, which is actually going to court and arguing your position. So what I am going to do, and you will see other videos where we just go into certain sections and we look at documents so that you're not too foreign to the process or too foreign to what you should be seeing, okay? So that's for contested. Uncontested is the exact opposite. There's really only two stages within an uncontested divorce. First thing is you do still have to file a complaint. You will have to file additional paperwork. But if you have children and just being married, there's two agreements. Property, then you enter into a settlement agreement between you all. That one, you both review, you both sign, and you submit that to the court. If there's children, an additional agreement would be a parenting plan. Also, you'll go into some child support and all that stuff, but we're going to cover that as well. But that is the first part. There's no discovery, there's no mediation because you guys agree to everything. And then the final part, so between that, obviously there's paperwork being done, but the next big stage is ending the case. So the first stage is preparing documents, filing. Your response, whoever the person is responding, you're basically saying, yes, I know about the divorce. I received the information. I do not disagree with anything. I agree with everything, and I want a copy of the final order. That's what you usually fill out, and you're letting the court know. From there, you go to the final stage, which is the actual court hearing. But the court hearing is about 5 minutes, 10 minutes outside of just the wait time. But when you're in front of the judge, you're basically saying, hey, I was married. I don't want to be married anymore. I submitted all of the necessary documents. We're on the same page, and we're ready to end the case. So that is the difference between contested and uncontested. It is important for you to understand that so that you can decide which of these routes work for you. You may think that it automatically has to be contested. No, it doesn't. It can be uncontested divorce. It could be a very simple divorce because you agreed in the beginning. You can agree at the end to separate everything and go your separate ways, nice and clean. So that is the types of divorce and how it will help you, empower you to make the right decision on which one. So the next thing that we're going to talk about, it's called property division or asset division. What is this? So you know that while you're married, you have things that you come into the marriage with and things that you acquire, you get, you build, you buy while you're in the marriage, okay? So now you have to decide what's going to happen with those things, right? So whether it's a couch, a car, or the house, what's going to happen with those things? Not only what's going to happen with those things, but we now have to identify, depends on what state you're in, how will the court start off, or how does the law, let's say the law, because the court's not involved immediately, but how will the law reflect on what you can ask for and what you're limited to? So every state has property that is either marital or separate, okay? So it's marital property, meaning it will be divided some way. Separate property, it is for that person, okay? So we need to understand that. You have marital property, you have separate property. With that, in order to know, the separate property isn't usually an issue unless a person is trying to make a claim for it, but once it's been designated as a marital or separate, we remove the separate, you keep that, I keep that, that's fine. Now, when we come to marital property, that's where the states are gonna divide. You are either in a community property state or an equitable distribution state. So community or equitable distribution. It's a mouthful. All right, so let's just start off with community because this is what everybody know. It's the California law and only a few other states and on the West, they are community property, right? So community property states basically starts off with the premise that everything goes 50-50. So whatever we can identify that is marital property will be split 50-50. Now, with understanding that, okay, I'm in a community property state. So how do you find this out? You go on to your browser and search my state. So the state of Texas, is it community property or equitable distribution? Wisconsin, Ohio, whatever state you're in, just go ahead and search what type of state is this, community or equitable, okay? So that's the first thing you can do right now to determine yours. Next thing is, all right, so I'm in a community property state. What's the difference between equitable? Remember, so community property state says that everything that we consider marital property is going to be split down the middle 50-50. That's just what it is, right? With an equitable property state, they're basically saying we're going to split everything in a equitable way. What does equitable mean? Basically, it's saying a fair split. It does not have to be 50-50. It can be 30-70. It can be 60-40. It could be 45-55. It can be anything once it is fair based on the facts, based on your marriage, based on contribution. So what are the factors they're going to look at? The factors that the court is going to look at and that your law considers, it doesn't matter what state you're in, is how did you get it? When did you get it? Did the other person contribute in any way to it while you were married? Okay, so those are the factors. When did you get it? How did you get it? Did the person contribute? Obviously, did you get it together? Was it something acquired during the marriage, before the marriage? Was it during the marriage, but was it inherited? Because that's one thing that's kind of clear across the board. Some states may differ, but when you inherit something, so if someone passes away and it is an inheritance, it usually remains separate property. Okay, there are ways that you can make it change, but that's for another video. We're just doing an overview of letting you know your rights and helping you make an informed decision. But we're going to have separate videos on each one of these topics so I could go a little bit more in depth and I can show you some forms and documents that go with it, okay? So we know the factors they're going to look at. So with the equitable distribution state, what does that look like? It basically means, so if you had a house, you had the house before, and your spouse comes into the house, you guys are living in the house, your spouse begins to pay, fix things in the house, and they're paying from their pocket to fix things in the house. They're paying, the mortgage, the bills, and they can prove that they've done these things. Then it's not fair for you to keep it as a separate property because this person has been contributing to it during the marriage. So it is only fair for you to split that and helping you make an informed decision. But we're going to have separate videos on each one of these topics so I could go a little bit more in depth and I can show you some forms and documents that go with it, okay? So we know the factors they're going to look at. So with the equitable distribution state, what does that look like? It basically means, so if you had a house, you had the house before, and your spouse comes into the house, you guys are living in the house, your spouse begins to pay, fix things in the house, and they're paying from their pocket to fix things in the house. They're paying, the mortgage, the bills, and they can prove that they've done these things. Then it's not fair for you to keep it as a separate property because this person has been contributing to it during the marriage. So it is only fair for you to split that. Now, let's say that you purchase a home, you purchase it together with marital property. However, you used $100,000. You put it into the house. The other person didn't use anything, but you guys bought it together. With equitable distribution state, you're basically saying, listen, I put $100,000 in. I believe that I should receive my $100,000 and then, do what you want to do. And the court is saying, yes, that's right. It is only fair that this money that was not your money together, because remember, if they can prove that that was marital money too, then it kind of defeats your argument. But if, so that's basically what it looks like. It does not have to be 50-50. It can be 60-40. Once you can prove the value that you've added and you should receive, it can be any number, okay? So it is important for when you are at that stage. So let's say if you're doing pro se, meaning you're representing yourself, that you speak to a legal professional, because this is usually the make it or break it for cases. And a lot of people are so confused with the process. They forget things, they miss things. They don't know that bank accounts are included, trust accounts, businesses, all of those are assets. So we have to figure out during this section, property division, the business, who gets what from the business, who gets what from the car, who gets what from an account that was a joint account. How do you get it? Based on contribution. It's not automatic 50-50, right? If we can prove it, we can get it fairly, okay? So that is property division. Now let's talk about child custody for those of you that have minor children. All right, so I have a whole video talking about custody, okay? And I even go through all of the factors. I have 15 factors. Some states like Florida have 22, others have 20, but these are the factors across the board that everyone uses, and it covers everything that you would find in any state in these United States of America, okay? So you can look at that video, but just to kind of give an overview of what the significance of understanding child custody before you get into the process, okay? Or even while you're in it. You need to understand this. The courts start off with the understanding that two individuals came together to raise this child, to have this child. Therefore, two individuals should be contributing equally to this child. They should be with their physical presence, because remember, we're not talking about child support yet. We're talking about your physical presence. We're talking about time, face time with that child. Not Apple, not the FaceTime app. I'm talking about actual physical time with that child, okay? They start off there. So they feel that should be 50-50, it should be equal, and you guys should be able to deal with that without the court interfering. However, if the court does have to interfere because you cannot agree with it together, there are factors the court is going to consider. Those factors, and I'm going to give you the overview of what the factors that the courts will consider. The courts is basically going to say the child and what they do right now, who knows and who can keep them in that place. The next thing is the child's safety. So when I say that, that means if they're in extracurricular activities, if they're around family and that's, what they know, what they thrive in, who can keep them in that environment, and can the both of you do that? The next thing is safety and security. Safety and security for the child. Is the child safe and secure with both parents? If the child is safe and secure with both parents, then they should both have time with the child. The next thing is ability. The ability to provide what the child needs, when not really financially, but a little bit financially in this section. We'll talk about child support. Financially, so that, the child can stay involved in the community, can be in extracurricular activities where the child can feel loved. So your ability to spend quality time, not just any time, not they come over your house and then you leave and your family member is watching them, not that. Okay, so we're talking about the fact that that child is with you and you're able to provide love, you're able to provide discipline, direction, and all those things. Also, the next thing is the state of the parent. What does that mean? The state of the parent is, what is your position in life mentally? So the other parent or the court can ask for a mental evaluation. If you are showing signs of irrationality, if you are showing that you are unstable, they can seek that. The court or the other person can seek that, because why? At the end of the day, the standard in custody cases is best interest of the child, okay? So what is your state? Are you always busy? Are you available? Are you paying attention to the child? Do you have the capacity to take on, having work, having the child on your own, right? Because when you're together, it's a balancing act. But now you're on your own. Can you truly carry that burden, and how much of it you can carry? Because it may not be as much as the other parent, but if you can carry it at all, then hey, you can have some time with the child, right? So that's definitely important. And then finally, it's like a catch-all. So anything else that is relevant and important to the best interest of the child when it comes to custody can be added as an argument as to why yes or why no. Time, no time, more time, less time from one parent or the other. Okay. It is important for you to understand these factors. It is important for you to understand that the court started 50-50. You have to convince them of anything less or anything more. Okay. Because every parent should be involved. It takes a village. So the same way it takes a village, it takes the two that tangoed to raise that child. Unless that's not an issue, then it's not an issue, right? All right. So that is child custody. All right, the doozy. We are now going to talk about child support. Child support, by now across the nation, is being determined by law. Okay. So before, the courts were determining child support, it was on a case-by-case basis. It was on a general, more mother standard, and then father pay, unless you can show the mother makes way more money than father. But generally, it's by law. What do I mean when I say it's by law? It is very important that you understand child support is not just what you want. So before I even get into the law, child support is not just what you want, just what you feel. It's not revenge. It's not payback. It's not anything that you believe you're going to use just to prop yourself up, just to make the other person feel pain. It needs to be commensurate to what your incomes are, what the standard of living is right now for the child, And if it gets better, if one of you become millionaires or both of you become millionaires or you're already millionaires, hey, it is what it is. However, it is by law, not by your feelings or your anger or your emotions. And you know we talk about emotions. What chapter? We talk about emotions. And there's video on emotions. So we do not want to let emotions affect us in any of these areas that we've talked about, especially not in child support. So, chapter 5, okay? Chapter 5, emotions. It could be your friend or it could be your foe, all right? So, with child support, what is it that the court is going to consider? The law is going to govern, and the law says generally, this is what it is. They take your income, they take the other person's income or lack thereof. It depends on their situation, because some of you may say, well, what if they don't have an income? If the person is intentionally not having an income just so they don't participate in child support, the court will, what we call, it's a legal term that's called impute, meaning I'm going to give you income. So you better hurry up and find a job, because you are going to pay something. You're going to have some obligation, okay? So we want to make sure that you're not trying to lower your income. So let's say you have a PhD and you've been working for a university and you're making multiple six figures, and then the divorce is about to happen. So now you politely say, deuces to the university. You go work at a small college, a community college or something, and say, hey, this is the only job I can find. The court is going to say, nope. At your level and your experience of where you've been working before and how long you've been working there, I'm going to impute multiple six figures to you. So you should find a way to get back to the multiple six figures. So that's not going to fly either. But you need to know that you can actually bring that up. You can say, no, that person is underemployed. And for you, that means you need to get it back up. Don't be underemployed, because you will get on the judge's bad side real quick. And we don't want that, okay? All right. So it's going to take both incomes. It's going to also, and this is how the statute, now I'll show you guys a copy of one. On my website, AttorneyJCoach.com, you will see our resource page, and it does have a sample of these documents so that you can see what it looks like and how the law breaks it down. But income, the number of children, there's this calculation, they have this equation in there. It includes overnights. It includes payments already being made. So if you're paying anything in child support, you get credit for that already. If you're paying insurance through your employer, if you are paying for childcare, if you are paying for anything out of pocket, you get credit for that. And that's going to lower your obligation. Once everything is put in, because the amount of time, so for states like Georgia, Florida, you're spending more than 20% of the overnights with the child, you're going to get credit for that. So it kind of balances it off based on the time that you have the child as well, right? So that's why you see a lot of people, when it comes to this part, child support, they like to say, oh, I want 50-50. But if you can't handle 50-50, how are you going to get it? And then the judge peeps it. You have to call it out. If whether you're represented by legal counsel, we're going to talk about that next, or if you're representing yourself, you have to make it very clear to the court that the person works 12-hour shift, 5 days a week. There's no way we can split 50-50. Like someone else will be babysitting. That means they're not with them. It defeats the purpose. Let's get what I asked for, okay? So remember that little tidbit. But back to where I was. So they're going to add in the time that you guys spend together. There's going to be a number generated for both. There's going to be a number generated for both of the parents. Whoever's number is higher, you're going to pay the difference. So let's say that one parent's come out as $600, because both people should be taking care of the child, right? That's how the law sees it. That's how the state sees it, that you should both be taking care of the child so that the child does not become a ward of the state and you don't have to get, assistance from the government to take care of this child when there's two parents, right? So let's say one parent, their number is 600 to take care of. The other parent's number is 400. You're not giving 400, you're giving 600. No. What we're going to do is, since this parent's number is higher, we're just going to subtract 600 from 400, and $200 will be that monthly payment that this parent pays to the other parent, okay? Another thing to understand is you do have to provide affidavits. Affidavit means sworn. in front of a notary, sworn. That affidavit you present is going to show your financials. What is on that? You're basically saying where you work, how much money you make, what deductions you have from your check, what is the amount you have left over, what bills do you pay, what other government obligations. So if it's other child support or something like that, you will put that on there. What are your liabilities? What are your assets? So we total all that up, subtract it, and then that's going to be what the court considers as your income for the child. Well, I didn't give it the name. I said the law define it, but it's actually called a child support worksheet. Okay, so it's a child support worksheet is what needs to be generated. That's going to say who pays what, if you pay anything at all. Okay, it is important to understand that this is by law. Now, let's say that you have this number and you're like, yeah, there's $200, but because of another reason, maybe I'm getting alimony, or because we kind of make the same amount, or things are going to change for me, I actually don't want child support. But whatever reason you have for not wanting the $200, there's something called a deviation. Every state has it. You can deviate. Say, yes, I know that the child support worksheet says that it's $200, but I actually don't want the $200. We're in agreement. I am not going to get the $200. You both have to sign that document and submit that to the court so that the judge can consider not giving the child support. Okay? So those are the important factors for child support. Remember, there are guidelines. Law governs it. You can also agree to a number, right? On that same paper, you can say 200, but because you understand the situation, you may say, I'll only take 100. Again, you got to do that deviation motion and file that in the court. But those are the factors and the steps and the process when it comes to child support. Now, let's talk about seeking professional assistance and advice. Now, some of you may say, I can do this on my own, which more power to you. I am not saying not to, but even if you are deciding to represent yourself, you should still speak to a legal professional, because at least they can give you some guidance. So pay for 1 hour or 2 hours of their time and then take the rest on your own, But you should always be advised in everything you do. The Bible says it, even in Proverbs, that it is wise to have multiple. A wise man or woman has multiple advisors. So at least be advised on this information. It is a process you don't understand. It has language that you're not familiar with. So at least seek the guidance of an attorney, even if you're just paying for 1 or 2 hours of their time, so that they can explain your process to you, so that you have someone to bounce off your specific facts with, okay? Find the attorney that's willing to do it. Everyone may not, or they may even let you talk to their paralegal, where a very experienced family law paralegal is just as good, because you don't want to go to it blind, not knowing, and you end up missing out on a lot, okay? So definitely do that. Next thing is for support during this process. You can speak to people like me, which are divorce coaches, but I happen to be a Christian divorce coach. So not only are we supporting you emotionally, supporting you through the legal process, but I'm supporting you spiritually, because we know that a lot of these things are spiritual battles. A lot of these things, we need to remember the word of God. We need to remember that God is in the process with us. So seeking a coach, a therapist, somebody to help you navigate the emotional part, because there's no question that divorce is emotional. That's not a question. It's like a death. You're in mourning. So you need process to get through it so that you don't get PTSD from this divorce. Okay? You need to be effective for your purpose that God has called you to. I always say, and I'm not going to stop, you have a purpose and there's life after divorce. So we need you to be on your feet, ready to go as a soldier in the army of the Lord. Okay? So getting advice and getting support is necessary if you want to do this in a wise way, if you want to make informed decisions. Okay? You also may want to speak to a mediator, someone who does mediation for family law cases, because they can help navigate you through what does it look like when I'm trying to come together with a person? How should I do this? What's the best way to get that done? So you have a lot of options, okay? And it is important, like I said, because it will help you in your decision making, making sure you're making clear decisions. You're making decisions based on your unique circumstances, not just a general thing, right? So that at the end of the day, you are able to be very clear and you understand everything that took place and you are satisfied as much as you can be. It is still a divorce, as much as you can be with the divorce process itself. Now, just a quick recap. So we discussed the options that you have in a divorce. First thing is the types of divorce. So we discussed the difference between contested and a uncontested divorce. Next, we talked about property division. Remember, with property division, it is going to come down to the state that you live in so that you can know. It also comes down to what's marital, what's separate. You can search that up as well, and then they give you a good breakdown online of what's separate property and what is marital property. The next topic was child custody. With child custody, we made it clear that there are factors that the court will consider. You should be considering these factors. You should already know how every factor plays in your case. And also remember, the standard is the best interest of the child. Next, we talked about child support. Child support, remember what we said, it is not just what you feel, but it is what the law says based on your incomes and based on all of the other factors that we discussed. And finally, we discussed getting advice, okay? Legal professional advice, divorce coach advice, okay? So we are going to take these steps. I hope that this video allowed you to understand, brought clarity in the divorce process, and that you are empowered to navigate this process, okay? I also want you to remember that I truly have a heart for you, where you are, what you are facing. If you want to talk one-on-one, I do provide divorce coaching, one-on-one sessions and group sessions. Go to our website. The link is in the description so that you can sign up for an exploratory call. See how that will work for you. What would it look like for you? And how can we really get you with some real support, guidance throughout this process? God loves you. God still have a plan for you. Do not be shamed. Don't be shackled by the shame of divorce. You are called to live beyond the shackles of shame. You are to rise up and thrive in the will and the power of God and the Holy Spirit within you. You are destined for your purpose. You got to go fulfill your purpose. So don't let divorce get you down to a place where you forget who you are. You are unique. You are wonderfully made, okay? So use your uniqueness, take this information, and be empowered through your divorce process. Subscribe if you didn't subscribe yet, like, and share with someone who you believe can truly benefit from this information. And click the bell so you know whenever a new video drops. All right? To end with the commercial that we have created for the book, a book promo. Enjoy.
I'm Jadina N. Gustav, Esquire. Can call me Attorney J, and I am so excited to introduce you to my book, Divorce Like a Boss, the ultimate tactical guide to end a toxic marriage and fulfill your purpose. This book is God's assignment to his people. So BOSS is actually an acronym for living beyond our shackles of shame. So if you are ready to live beyond the shackles of shame due to divorce and rise up to fulfill your purpose, this book is for you. You will be educated, empowered, and elevated.